Star Trek Khan. This is a spoiler review. Doing something different here just for fun. Star Trek Khan was a audio drama, and in honor of that, I'm just gonna do a little still photo of myself here. We're just gonna rely on the audio, see how this goes. Don't know how much interest there is in this topic, so who knows who's even going to watch this video or apparently listen to this video because we're doing audio drama. I did not do any other spoilers, any other reviews of this. I'm just going to do this spoiler review here just to knock something out real quick. I would give this series 2.5 out of 5. It wasn't what I expected. It was supposed to be telling the story of Khan, why he was marooned on Ceti Alpha 5. I assumed that it would jump a bit. It was 9 episodes. You had to cover roughly 20-year time span while he was trapped there, and it would, we would see how shit hit the fan basically, and then they were able to survive, but he just got blinded by vengeance about going after Captain Kirk. And that's what I was expecting, and I knew that was bookend by some present day stuff. Present day as in a few years after Star Trek Generation, and we got appearances by Captain Sulu and Ensign Tuvok. By the way, I haven't done any spoilers yet, but I'm going to get into spoilers now. Story was not what I expected. It was really only covered the first 6 months of Khan's time on Ceti Alpha 5, but there was a couple little jumps, but for the most part, it was just 6 months. And then right near the end, we did take a 5-year time jump, and then we wrapped it up. Biggest complaint is very hard to distinguish who's talking a lot of times. Like, there were several characters that had real thick accents, like Ivan, thick Russian accent. You had another character with some type of an African accent. I want to call it Wakandan just because of Marvel, but those characters right away, I knew who they were. Khan, sometimes he almost sounded like some of the other characters, but for the most part, he was distinct. But a lot of times, like, people will be talking, I'm like, wait, who is this again? And there's people were relatively forgettable, so they'd mention someone. I'm like, who? Wait, which guy is that? Like, they're just forgettable characters, especially knowing that outside of Khan and Joachim, none of these characters have any role in Star Trek 2 whatsoever, unless they're supposed to be a background character. But I think those are the only 2 characters have any dialogue in the movie that are augments. So everyone you meet, you're just like, okay, this guy's going to be dead by the time Star Trek 2, so I can't get invested in this character. And then Khan's fate too, so it's also kind of hard to get invested in him as well. As far as the actor that was doing Khan's voice, I thought he captured the speech pattern well enough. Obviously, he did not try to do the Latino kind of Spanish accent that Ricardo Montalban had. It gets weird because Montalban was supposed to be playing a man from India, but he's obviously he wasn't. So they found an Indian actor, but he didn't want to do that accent, so it's this weird. It was a decent compromise, but it didn't stand out. And he just did not have the charisma that Montalban had in the role. And they said the rest of the characters were just fine. And like I said, the characters I remember the most are the ones with accents. Like, okay, because I know who they are. There's Ivan. There's, it was even hard telling MacGyver sometimes with her voice. They could have did a little bit more to let you know when someone was speaking. Like, I don't know how they used to do audio dramas back in the old day, but I struggled, and I've heard other people struggle as well, trying to figure out who was saying what. Sometimes it's hard to figure out what was happening. Like, wait, are they on a mountain? Like, I wish there was a little way to set it up better. Even if it was just, the present day stuff where they're like, oh, okay, this tape is Khan and so are out in the desert looking for, something that kind of set the tone so you knew who was, you were expecting to hear. The present day stuff, Sulu's barely in it, and I think there's only like a handful of scenes he gets. Tuvok gets a little bit more, but there's pretty big chunks where you don't get either one of them. Tuvok a lot near the end and a little bit near the beginning, and Sulu here and there. And again, it was nice that they got Tim Russ and George Takei back to do the voices. They were clearly much, much older than they were supposed to be, but obviously that's just reality. They've aged since, they were, characters. Those characters' ages in the movies. I mean, there's nothing you can do about it. Just cool having them back. There's some decent mysteries that they teed up, and some they got into, some they didn't. Like, they touched on how did Starfleet not know that SETI Alpha 6 was going to explode. They do cover that. Aliens accidentally destroying it. It was an okay explanation. I guess could have been anything, but it was fine. We don't even get that revelation until late in the show, series, whatever you want to call it. But they even point out, how did Starfleet not realize that they were going to SETI Alpha 5 and not 6 in Star Trek 2? It's brought up, never explained. I said, occasionally there's something like, oh, maybe we'll learn something that's a plot hole, and they really don't get into it. What else? I guess I'll just get into the basic plot. I don't want to go too crazy long on this. Basically, the plot centers around the Augments trying to set up shop here. First, Khan's pretty enthusiastic, but immediately the cracks form in this new civilization. There's betrayals, wild animals are killing people. It's actually pretty shocking how quickly shit hit the fan. I thought they'd have a little time to start establishing something, and then it went to shit. I mean, eventually they rebound, they start building, and then the 6-month mark, SETI Alpha 6 explodes, and that's when they're really shit out of luck. They don't explain how they survived all those years. We knew one character managed to survive in the wilderness for 5 years, Ivan. And it's implied that he ate the SETI Eagle larvae to stay alive, but they never really get into it. So I don't know how the rest of his followers stayed alive for another decade or so. Presumably the same way. And then a lot of it seems to be setting up MacGyver's and Khan's relationship. Again, you know that she's doomed. There was a surprise how quickly she died. I thought they would stretch her out a little bit longer, establishing these two as a couple, and how much her death would hurt Khan when she did die. But they said it happened a little sooner. But then the twist is that she was pregnant. So then we got the time jump. Khan's got a 5-year-old daughter, which at that point it's a pretty easy guess that Dr. Lear, who's hard pressed to get as much information on Khan in his time there, is Kali, using a fake name because she don't want anyone to know who she really is. So that wasn't much of a shock when they do reveal it. Then the story takes another weird twist where, like I said, not only did aliens inadvertently destroy SETI Alpha 6, but they crash land there. So now you have this whole weird thing where there's a couple hundred telepathic aliens sharing this planet with them, and never really got that interesting. You only really get a couple of them that talk, and then their leader's just kind of meh. He didn't do much for me. It was a little corny. Shows us how untrustworthy Khan is to others outside of his group, and they're trying to give him a little bit of a redemption, but he's basically an asshole. He does care for his people, and he does think he's trying to make things better, but he's so paranoid and he's so my way or their highway that he is basically a dictator. So at least they didn't try to make it oh no, he was a good guy, and then his family died and he became an asshole. No, he's always had those tendencies. And they said none of that stuff worked that well, that the interaction between him and the leader of these aliens. And again, then there was the time jumps didn't help. There was weird, it was you're getting the day-to-day life of these people, then all of a sudden you got the big time jump, and then it's already time for them to wrap things up. And I don't know, even the big emotional moments, the actor did a fine job. When Khan, first he lost MacGyver's, and later he thought he lost Kali. It's I don't know, just didn't do it for me. I just didn't feel anything. I don't want to say it was because it was acting, maybe because you're not seeing it, you're just hearing somebody bawling their eyes out and throwing a temper tantrum. It kind of lost something. And then obviously, like I said, Kali survives, and she takes up the fake name, and Tuvok shockingly covers for her, because it seemed I know Tuvok had some issues with Starfleet because he left, not long after he joined, but it seemed they actually could have worked that more into that story, where he felt, Starfleet wasn't for him because maybe they were going to treat Kali or some other stuff, but they didn't really get into that, which is no big deal. But again, it was a okay thing to listen to. I basically threw on my headphones and listened on the drive home. All the episodes are about a half hour long, and it takes me about a half hour to get home. So it was a nice little change of pace to listen to this. Again, it's like I thought we were going to see more to like the downfall of Khan and his people, and how this just made him go on this quest for vengeance against Kirk. And instead, it was more about him almost being redeemed through his wife, almost being redeemed through his daughter, and then just at the hell of it, oh, by the way, and fuck Kirk. Like, it just kind of felt like that was tacked on, actually. I mean, granted, it was another 10 years after that, but I just didn't feel like that was setting up to how he would be in Star Trek 2, where, like, the only thing he wanted to do was get revenge on Kirk. Like, the first thing he does after he gets off this planet is like, I'm going after Kirk. And I just don't think they set that up properly. But that's about it. This is an experiment. I don't know if I'll ever do anything like this again. I don't know if Star Trek's ever going to do anything like this again. But other than that, if you want to go to my blog, soundofbettermyhead.com, I got movie reviews, TV reviews, I got a couple video game reviews, and they're actually normal on-camera reviews, not this little silly radio play I'm doing here. I also got a comic strip that I do a couple days a week, so if you want to check any of this stuff out, like I said, soundofbettermyhead.com. Other than that, thanks for listening.